So I do believe we're here, we're up and running. And away we go. Just made it. I slipped into my seat like 10 seconds ago. Email triage for the past couple of hours. Okay, let's get back to work here. What's next? I think we finished that sword bit. Can't get up there yet, we know why. So let's do some clothing and stuff. Start here. Good morning, gang. What have we got happening here today already? It'll be a quiet morning's work today. It's the key block for the first print in next year's subscription series, for those of you who are just joining for the first time or something. And this is going to be pretty much it for the whole morning here today, just carving these key lines. In fact, that's going to be it for the next few days, It's what looks like being another beautiful day in Tokyo. It's a weekend here, it's Sunday. Yesterday, busy day in Asakusa. It's really a common district for people to come and have fun for the weekend in Tokyo. So it's not just foreigners, it's Japanese people too. So the weekends here are just wonderful. People strolling the streets, relaxing, dropping in on the shops. Restaurants, of course. Restaurants are all long lineups, pretty much all day long. Sounds like a fairly lonely crow out there today. Must be over in the temple garden, I think. It's hard to tell what direction it's coming from. Something in the order box. Where do we go here? Let's see. It's hard to see. Alright, what's in the box over there today? Oh, very, very quiet chat this morning, okay? No problem, I'll just keep working. Of course, it's the weekend now. Yeah. I forgot that. These Twitch streams are all very quiet on the weekend, usually. I was surprised about that when we first started doing this. I had assumed that they would be busier on the weekend. People would be at home, time off, time to look at this. But it's the other way around, of course. The weekend, it's very light. Most people, it seems, are watching these streams at work. that's the one. Let's get the other side where we start up here somewhere. Clumsy on that corner, I think. Let's have a look at it. It's okay. I hear the question sound, so give me a second here. Let's go and have a look at it. Goes more than 10 or 15 seconds, I forget. People are waiting. Is Dave going to remember there's a question? Is Dave going to forget? I'm holding on to it. Hang on. Let's see. Oh, chat's come alive. Oh, Jed's here too. Look at this. Good morning. There's a question in the chat here about the more in-depth how to carve video. Yeah, of course. I did that little book, Your First Print. 8, 9, 10 years ago. And of course, the idea was that would just be a starter, and then it would be 2 big volumes, a volume about carving, everything I know dumped in there, and everything I know about printing dumped in there. So yes, it's very much a thing I'd like to do. It's on the to-do list. Nothing I can do about it right now. These videos will have to fill in until there's time to do that sort of thing. What's in the question box? It's an open question. Do you have any recommendation for beginner tools? And it's almost impossible to talk about this on the stream here. Over on my own website, years and years and years ago, nearly 20 years ago now, if you go to woodblock.com, the front page, way down at the bottom, there's a link to the encyclopedia thing I was trying to put together. Just a minute, I'll just link to it. It's easier than describing it. Hang on a sec. I put a recommendation of a bunch of simple tools, the kind of tools that I use. I can't find it. My own website, I can't find it. Someone's going to beat me to it, I think. Here we are. Here we are. If somebody hasn't already beat me to it. No, here we go. Okay, dig through there, and there's recommendations about, I know, different sort of tools and stuff. Where am I? I'm just a bit slow waking up here this morning. It's been a busy couple of days. I'm still a bit stunned by the last couple of days' activities in the shop here. So we said the same, almost the same thing I say every day when I come on here. We keep waiting for our autumn season to sort of taper off and end a bit, and it's not ending yet this year. So. For us, December, January, February are our lighter months. It's time to get our bearings, get prints made, not relax, but it's just not happening this year. It's just people every day, every day, every day. Yesterday we did a crazy party. There was supposed to be a small family group coming in the morning, and they showed up with 8 people. And normally we book 4, sometimes 5 in the room, and they showed up with 8. Like, what are we going to do? Send them away? So we did it, but my God, it was chaos. It was fun chaos. Everybody's laughing and having a good time, but it was exhausting chaos. If you're thinking of coming for a party, please don't come with 8 people. Make your reservation and stick to it. people keep asking me, Dave, make a video about the print party so we can see what they're like, And it's really, really difficult. It's a very small room, what they call in Japanese a 6-mat room, 6 tatamis inside, with a big bench taking up a good chunk of it. So a normal party is like, 4 people and 1 or 2 of us as hosts. So 6 people are in there. That's already, the room is full. And to get a cameraman in there, somebody shooting with a camera, where do you point the camera? Because the action just goes back and forth, the conversation and stuff. Very, very difficult to get a video. Maybe if we were all wearing Google Glass or whatever it's called, that thing, and edit it together later, This is really soft wood. It's way too soft for this job, Way too soft. We've got to get better supply, We're looking. What's today's Sunday? On Friday, Aoyama-san Chon-san, our new young carver from Hong Kong, They're going on Tuesday back to the lumber market to desperately try and find some more pieces of good hardwood. Another question. So you guys are awake today and watching. Yeah, carving book would be about the size of a dictionary. It would indeed, actually, Soka, so somebody's updating the bot. Very good. Thank you. This bot is a thing coming to life bit by bit. Oops, where am I? Lost my stream here, sorry. Questionnaire was it's a very, very generic, general question, unanswerable, really. what's it like to live in Japan, or what was it like to move to Japan, Whatever, how do you answer that? It's such a big thing, so. It wasn't so difficult because I was one of those guys, it's a common situation where you meet a Japanese girl overseas and then come back together. So I had an entree in that sense, I was married to a Japanese woman, so that was the way I got my visa and stuff at first. But our story had a bit of a twist in that she left a couple of years later. So I was here, we came in, what was it, 86 or something. And a few years later she was gone. So I was here by myself with our 2 kids. So I brought my 2 kids up here in Japan. It was a ton of fun. Ton of fun. Japan's a very, what's the word? Can't find a single word for it. If you're the kind of person that likes to integrate and to try and do things in a Japanese way and to try and learn to speak the language and try and get used to the way things are going on, then they love it. There will be no barriers to your being here. Japanese are always open. The Japanese speaking generally, they're open to people who are trying to integrate and trying to do things properly. So in that sense, there's no barriers. Just a ton of fun every day, living in Disneyland, trying to enjoy learning how to speak the language, how to read stuff. It very much depends on your character. There are people who can't stand it here and who run away after a short time. And there are people who just fit in and integrate. As anybody knows, you can't integrate fully here. You're always a foreigner till the day you die. You're always going to be a foreigner. There's a big badge on your forehead that says Gaijin. Just have to admit that, get used to it. Don't let it bother you. There was a guy writing in the newspaper a while back. There's the English newspaper called the Japan Times, and they have one of their columnists, the guy I dislike intensely. All he can talk about is the endless microaggressions of being a foreigner in Japan. And everything he writes is completely negative, completely hostile. And you can't help think after reading it, guy, if you don't like it this much, what are you doing here? And anybody who uses that expression, microaggressions, whatever, what's an example? You walk down the street, back, a narrow street, whatever, you turn the corner and somebody was coming the other way and all of a sudden you're face to face with somebody, and the person jumps back, you're a foreigner, oops, he jumps back a little bit. Whatever, foreigners are still not that common here that everybody doesn't feel comfortable with them, so somebody's going to be a bit surprised. Oop, I just almost bumped into a foreigner. Big deal. But to this guy, this was a microaggression, and every day these things stack up and stack up and stack up. And he sees it as hostility from the country, Get over it. So you either like it or you don't. I love it. It's just good fun. My daughters have told me, that I can't go back to Canada, actually. They're doing this job. I think we might have talked about this on the stream a while back. I'm not sure. I think somebody had asked me, when am I going to go back home, back to Canada? And that's not going to happen. This is my home here now. I've lived here for 30-odd years. But one of my daughters, when I was speaking to her, she says, actually, Dad, you do understand you can't go back to Canada now and do this job. It's not permitted. At first I didn't understand what she was talking about, but then I got it. And she said, it's the cultural appropriation thing. You can't do this in Canada. So I'm stuck here. Trapped in Japan. Trapped in Japan. leg. Let's head down the other leg. Thing in the box, slots. Look at this. Oi, 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 oi. Yeah, Jed, Nick, cartoony brush style. It is. It's fun. We were talking about this yesterday. Insult, cartoony brush style. Cartoony brush style. We were trying to show yesterday, and I'll come to some of the differences the way I'm carving this and the way Jed is brushing this as opposed to our Ukiyo-e Heroes prints. And it's stuff like this. If I can find an example where there was a ton of them yesterday. I can't find one now, whatever. Oh yeah, here we are. I think this is an example we used yesterday. There's two legs here. The guy's got a left leg and a right leg. And Jed's made the brush strokes just bang and bang. And as it happens, he's gone, I can say, too far. It's not too, see, there's a tip at the top here and a tip at the top here. So one of these legs should cover the other. So if this left leg was in front, then we shouldn't be able to see this here. So if I'd been carving this as one of the Ukiyo-e Heroes prints, I would take off that little mark there. We still have the brush stroke here, full liquid brush stroke. And then this brush stroke would come from behind that leg. So that would be taken off as a part of the normal carving place. Carving, I know. Here's one here, look, sir. This bump here. Because that line, theoretically, goes behind this line. So again, that bump would come off, and this line would be the line that would be on top, in front. So when I carve Jed's Heroes prints, I quote, unquote, clean them up in the sense of taking off these distortions of front and backness. Here's another one. There's a hair. And the base of the hair is sitting out in open space. Now we would sometimes have hairs that would come out into open space, but not the base of the hair. So this one would come off, or this thing too. This mark here shouldn't be sticking up into open space. And we normally take these off. It still leaves the character of the lines, but it makes sensible, what's the word? I don't know. It makes sense as an image. But with this one, it's different. This is a cartoon. Look at this. There's a thought bubble. That has no meaning. Of course we leave it. Look at these. These lines come past his head. I'm leaving all these. The whole style on this one is completely different. That hair will stay. That bump that I just mentioned, that will stay. So it's all a very different feel and mood. Much more natural. If I do my job correctly, Jed's lines will just be right there living on the paper, untouched, you know. It sort of takes away the carver's taste. You know, normally when a carver works on one of these, you know, back in the old days, the carver carved Yoshitoshi's lines or whatever. He still carved them to become a print rather than a drawing. So they were cleaned up. That's not the right word, cleaned up. They were carved as a woodblock print. But this one is different. This is being carved as an ink drawing. So it's much less, freedom for me, and in theory, if we had some kind of robot or laser or whatever, they could do this job better. Because for this one, there's no interpretation by the carver. My job literally here is to get those, leave the black and take away the white with no interpretation. But a normal carving job implies X% of interpretation, if that's the right word, of making sense of the lines. So for this kind of job, actually, if the technology was there, this kind of thing could perhaps be done with metal blocks. I don't know. I should keep quiet, or I'll talk myself out of a job. This was the deal with the Yoshidas and the metal blocks they used. I mentioned this in the last video, the David's Choice video I did a couple of weeks back. Starting back in the 1930s, the Yoshidas were using metal blocks for their woodblock prints, for the key block of their woodblock prints. And part of their rationale, part of it was financial, it was much cheaper, but part of their rationale was that they didn't want the carvers interpreting their lines. Yoshida Hiroshine and Toshi, his son. So they drew their thing with a brush, sent it out to a printing company to have a metal block made. Then carved by hand a set of color blocks, because in those days you couldn't have wooden blocks made in any mechanical fashion. Then they did it. They did the printing by hand, of course. Now, if they were doing it now, pretty much what they would do is clearly the same thing. They'd send their key lines out for a metal block. And once that came back and they did their color separation ideas, the wooden blocks could easily now be done by CNC machine, wooden color blocks, in a matter of a few minutes. So if the Yoshidas were working now, I think that's what they'd be doing, wooden key blocks and CNC wood color blocks. And then over to the printers, because they don't want interpretation by the carvers. And now here and there around the world, there are people doing this. I know the young French guy that was here a while back, I remember part of his name, Benoit. I don't remember his other name, something Benoit something. He's drawing his stuff in some kind of Photoshop or whatever, or scanning it into Photoshop. Then using a laser for the fine lines, CNC or whatever for getting rid of the rest of the waste wood. And then he prints by hand because he likes printing. That's his thing. So we're seeing an explosion now in different ways that people are making woodblock prints. And here in our little corner, we're going to stick with this because it's what we'd like to do. It's what we want to do. We think the human touch brings a huge value. And the market will decide if people stop collecting our prints because they're too expensive, because of the hand labor involved, and that'll be the end of the day, the end of the game. But so far, nothing like that is in sight. We're keeping the costs reasonable. People are deciding that it's worthwhile to own the things. But it's going to get interesting as many people start bringing very, very cheap items to market that are, quote, handmade prints using, modern technologies. We should do a video about that, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? There's a lot of things we should do a video about. What's in the game here? Jed's off, is he? I think sometimes, Jed says he's leaving, but he doesn't. He likes to think about it. It's like an open mic. You turn the mic off. You say you've turned the mic off and then talk. And with Jed, I think he says he's leaving. I'm laughing because he's probably still there. He says he's leaving, but actually doesn't. Just stops typing, So wants to hear what people are going to say about me after I'm gone, Wow, it's so cool to have Jed here today, I'll be seeing him again in a couple of weeks. He's coming over to Tokyo. There's a massive, massive comic convention here. Tokyo, is it Tokyo Comic Con it's called, I think? I don't know. I think what he said was they asked him to come. I don't know. He had his stuff displayed here last year, but this year I believe they've requested / demanded that he's going to be here, I think. Whether they're highlighting his stuff or not, I don't know. I don't know the deal, but these conventions in Japan can be insane. You know, people line up the night before. You've seen the YouTube videos. There's a famous genre of YouTube videos of time-lapse photography of people lining up to get into Japanese conventions, comic cons and anime cons and stuff like that. And people line up through the night in orderly, neat rows in the tens of thousands of people. And then when the doors open, it's all processed, this row, next row, next row. Some really cool videos. Popped up. So what I'm missing here, Dave, will you join UFB fan page? I'm not quite sure how to do that. What do I do? I don't know. Send me information what I should do. I don't know if I heard any question box has got two. Sorry, I didn't hear. One's a follow-up. I know there's a question about the light. I don't know if I can move this out of the way for a minute. There's a light globe on my bench, and the question is about that. I don't know. Oops, now that I've moved it, that wasn't such a good idea. The light on the bench. I don't know. Can we see this? We've talked about this before. Wait, Tony. Let me move the camera a bit this minute. The light's here, and behind it is a bulb. And if I didn't have the globe of light, I'm going to move it out of the way. I'm going to try and move it out of the way. Now, I'll try and move this out of the way. Okay, let's try this. If I was trying to carve a line, I know we're going to put a line here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not. The knife and the line. The knife makes a really strong shadow. It's really difficult when you're carving to see where the line is. You know, this is just a bulb here without the flask. Just a light bulb and the wood block. So it makes a really strong shadow on the knife. If I put the flask back in, what happens now is, I'll do it somewhere you can see it, look, there's no shadow to the knife because the light is coming from a bunch of different directions, and I can carve clearly understanding where the lines are. And this has nothing to do with me. It's not my idea. This is something that's been going on for, I think it's probably around the Meiji time. This is not back in the old Edo time, because they didn't have strong light sources back then. It would have been just a window or, you know, some kind of candle or whatever. And once the light got too dim at the end of the day, that's it. Bang, you're gone. Just go home and do something else. But once they started using electric lights, and it's been the late 1800s or so, after the Meiji era, when electricity came, the lights were too strong. The shadow was a problem. So somebody, somewhere along the line, saw this, or used this, or thought of it, or created it, and bingo. And now the carvers here all use these lights. So it's traditional, but not traditional. If it's from the 1890s, is that okay? We can use that, or do we can only use techniques from the 1790s? And where do you draw the line? You know. And that's the long story short on what the bulb is. And any number of times in these Twitch chats, there's people making comments about why does Dave keep a bong on his desk? You know, no. Like I even know what that is. Am I back in the right place after moving the camera? You know, I don't know. Is it okay? A bit more that way. Zoom in a bit. It's a fun block, this one, the lines are fun. It's very unpretentious, quite quickly, not scribbled in a childish sense of the word, but brushed very, very quickly and loosely. They're good fun to carve, these lines. I can't move my knife as wildly as Jed moves his brush, but it's to catch the same feeling. The printers are going to have fun with this too. The whole ethic of this drawing style and series is going to be fast. They're going to have to change their working style compared with the yokai series they did this year. Those prints were carefully drawn, carefully carved, carefully printed, too carefully sometimes, And this one is going to be much freer. Subscription costs is going to be not quite half, but nearly half of what it was this year. We're expecting a lot more people to jump on board. Where am I next? Today. Let's just move up bit by bit. I'll move up his clothing. Kind of forget I'm on live here. Should see what's happening in the chat. Look at this. Talk, 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 talk. Sorry not to be so, what's the word? Integrated here. I'm seeing none of this. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I'll have a look through it later. Read it later. I haven't heard the question button. Nope, nothing in the question box. So sorry not to be part of the chat here today. Excuse me. I'll have a read through for this later. So where are we? We've got some time left. I'm just gonna keep quietly carving. I've got to get this done. I know. I really, really have to get this done because to announce the new series, I need a website, of course, for it, a web page for it, and I want to do a video. I want to have a video showing what the finished print looks like until I finish carving this key block and all the color blocks and do some test printing, and that's days and days and days and days away. And yet we're well past. I wanted to open the website on November 1st, so I've got to try and keep my nose down and get this work done. If I don't get the series announced, there won't be any subscribers for it, and we'll be dead in the water. So I have got to get this work done. So sorry if I seem distant or not so cooperative, but my God, I've got to get this done as soon as possible. Doing the work on those owls the last couple of weeks has really put me behind the 8 ball, Can't complain. It's good to have the orders and to have a successful design, but that's really kicked me down. That's all because of Ayumi. That's my careful what I say. It's all because of Ayumi-san. And it is actually. It's we've lost one of our printers, and it's really, really thrown a monkey wrench into the works, And I'm going to be late on some of the Kickstarter deliveries, it looks like. That first print in the boss fights, it's coming along very well. Chon-san will be here tomorrow, Monday, to pick up on the carving of it. It's going very, very well. But it's a bit slower and later than I proposed. So I'm not sure if those first prints, the first run of those prints, will be ready during the year, as I promised on the campaign. I don't know. It's coming along well this morning. Good. Keeping quiet here and just getting work done. Thanks for your patience. I have no idea what's happening over in the chat there. So. Today's on a Sunday here. It's going to be, another very, very busy day in the shop. We have reservations. We have a ton of reservations today. And so we should be hearing the bell soon, I think. What time is it? I don't know. So the schedule now, and it's Sunday morning. I don't know. This block, obviously, it's not going to be finished, later today. It's going to be some days' work still to come. So for the next few days, the streaming here is going to be pretty much the same thing, just working over this block. Today's Sunday, so I'll be back here again tomorrow morning, doing the same thing. The day after that, Tuesday, I won't be. I'll be on Aoyama-san and Chon-san and I were heading out to the lumber wholesalers to try desperately to find some more wood. Oh, here we go. It is that time. So good. We're going to try and find some more wood, although we have absolutely zero expectations of finding any. It's more of a, more of a networking expedition. We don't expect to find any wood, but asking one dealer where he thinks we might find some, he'll send us to another dealer. He'll have nothing, but he'll have another suggestion. So we're just going to sort of start following a chain and networking a bit. I would probably spend most of the day just running around and find nothing, but we've got to do something. And we're at the end of our rope now with wood. The paper situation is looking like it might be coming alive. The sizing we're struggling with, but we're basically under control. But wood is still a huge zero for us. So that's either Kawai-san or Nakajima-san, Nakamura-san, who's first up here today. So it's Kawai-san, I can hear the sigh. Kawai-san, good morning. Ready for a big day? What is it? It's 3, 6, and something. I forget the reservations. Say hello to the gang here. Hello. Kawai-san. What are you guys talking about? No idea. Do I need to show the picture? Hang on. Okay, let me do this. There's a new series. Here we are. This is the illustration, the rough sketch of the thing I'm doing. You can see the block I'm carving is matching Jed's drawing there. This is the key block. For those who don't know what's going on, this is the key block. I'll be doing color blocks to match this. So Dave got caught chopping down a cherry tree in Hibiya Park. You laugh, but we're about thinking about that, So not Hibiya, but there's a park in Ome, which has a bunch of Yoshino cherry trees, which are no good for us. And 40 or 50 years ago, somebody must have planted the wrong seedling, and one of those trees is a Yamazakura, mountain cherry, the one that we need. And it's now just about right. It's 50 years old or so, and it's got a nice big trunk that we could use. And all the other trees are different species. And we have joked about one night. We can't do it, of course, but whatever. It wouldn't help as much because it would take 5, 6, 7, 8 years to get through seasoning. So anyway, here we are. I'm going to get this shop. Thanks very much for watching. I have no idea what's going on in the chat. I'll try and catch up with it later. The schedule is, this is Sunday morning. I'll be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same station, continuing with this carving for as many days as it takes. Thanks very much, guys, and I'm off now. Thanks for watching. camera going off first, as usual. Microphone clip. And away we go. Thanks again, gang. See you next time.